Hello friends, allow me to share with you a brief thought on Pesach. There seems to sometimes be a tension between two directives that we have on the night of the Seder. On the one hand, we're told that we have to fulfill the mitzvah, v'higadato levincha, that we have to instruct our children, make sure that we faithfully pass down the story of the Exodus to the next generation, so that our legacy has the guarantee of always being perpetuated from generation to generation. But there's another directive at the Seder, which is Chayev Adam Liros Es Atzmo Ki'ilu Hu Yatsa Mimitzrayim, that every single person at the Seder has to view himself or herself as if they at this very moment are leaving Egypt. And it might seem that at face value there may be a conflict between the two, because if I really want to, as a mature adult, view myself as if I'm leaving Egypt, then I might want to retreat into a much more esoteric kind of silent experience, a meditative experience, about thinking about the imagery of myself leaving Egypt. And that might preclude me from actually engaging my children with the plastic frogs and the candies and all of the other things that we're told we're supposed to do in order to engage our children. As a matter of fact, the Ritva, one of the classic commentaries on the Haggadah, says that that is precisely the reason why we read a story about the 5 great rabbis who were reclining in Bnei Brak until their students came to them and told them, Rabboseinu, Higiya Zman Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis. Our teachers, the time of Kriya Shema has arrived. And the question that the commentaries ask is, well, why weren't the students with them the whole time? It sounds like from that story that the rabbis cloistered themselves away from their students, away from their families, to be able to have some kind of supernatural, otherworldly kind of Exodus-relating experience away from everybody else. But what about the mitzvah, v'higadato levincha? So the Ritva says that they spent the first part of their Seder relating the Exodus to the family, and then after they ate the afikomen, they retreated into a much more esoteric, transcendent experience of Exodus, which they felt was only for the grown-ups, for the mature and spiritually developed adults. But I think that when you look at the source text of these two directives, you find that they are inexorably linked. Because the Haggadah reads, Chayev Adam Liros Es Atzmo Ki'ilu Hu Yatsa Mimitzrayim, that every person has to view himself or herself as if they today are leaving Egypt, Shenemar, as it says, V'higadato levincha bayom hahu, you shall inform your children or your child on that day. So the very source text that we use to convey that a person has to view himself as he's leaving Egypt right now is the very self-same text that teaches me that I have to instruct my children about the Exodus. So how do we reconcile this? I think one of the ideas that we can draw from is when we look at Hollywood and we learn about how actors bring themselves to assume a role in front of the camera. You know, there's something called method acting, where an actor just can't learn his lines and pretend that he's somebody else. He has to become the character that he's playing. And that's the most convincing form of acting. That when the actor comes to a belief that he really is the character he's playing, sometimes actors will assume that role for the entire filming. They won't leave the role that they're playing. They won't go back to who they really are so that they can completely get into the role. Our children are the most real people in this world. They know when we're acting, and they know when we're being sincere and authentic. In order for us to faithfully convey our belief in Hashem and that He took us out of Egypt, we have to first believe it ourselves. We have to first view ourselves as if we're leaving Egypt. And only when we can muster that kind of recreation of the experience can we successfully convey it to our children. That's why these two mitzvahs cannot be separated. At some point, if we're going to faithfully convey Pesach to our children, we have to feel it ourselves first. If not, they'll pick up on the fakery and they won't buy it. So on the one hand, it's true. One part of the Seder has to be dedicated to our children with all the toys and the games and the singing, and another part should be dedicated towards a much more mature kind of reflective experience. But at the end of the day, you can't separate the two. If our children are going to learn from us, we have to feel it inside. I wish you therefore a Chag Kasher V'Sameach and may we all truly feel that we are leaving Mitzrayim this year. Chag Sameach.